Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from NEM. We will present about concordance in the classroom without a computer, sampling and exploiting concordance of common words. So the first material will present by Wawan Setiawan.
Okay, thanks to moderator, to student in the classroom without a computer. The next, introduction. In this chapter, we illustrate 5 different ways in which teacher can exploit set of concerning lines that their learners have assembled by hand. With a computer, this do-it-yourself approach is suitable for all classrooms as it engages learner from beginner upward. In the collecting and a new language data for themselves, it is especially applicable to classroom situation where people not have access to technology tag. It can be intensely used if high-tech backup is available outside class. Next, from curves to confidence, lines suggest that the rule does not hold up very well. Around have the example so any use in positive statement. In fact, in all the use any seem to carry a general non-specific meaning of meaning meaning which is maybe when it's used tip where there are to be speak about a large set on coordinates would be without in which it identified common collection veteran and pragmatic use, but this small sample does actually respect the best of use of the word and the prompt the research crop. Recitation representative everyday use the correct research process then developers isolation of particular line suggests seek future award or veteran and studying that future in detail. From this organized study the language research are able to product recession the language is grammary and lexis its big different collection meaning and use when we begin to view the process of language description that with a start step to any time fling the process pedagogical teacher want to make language description accessible to student. Okay, thanks to the need for a pedagogical crop. Pedagogical crop will and this will normally be made of some or all of the next and transcript of recording from the crop serum that learner have read or listened to before and other supplementary material they are already familiar with. The important thing is in corruption problem. Description made of automatic text that is not text writing for language teaching purpose to illustrate specific pedagogical corrupt. There is little point in learners studying language. That's unitical of the language they will meeting real life. More already any with better access to computer, reward and software, but we will look beyond that sum to timecast be able to research. Okay, thanks. Enough for me.
Okay, thank you for Wawan. So the next material will present by Aminah.
Okay, thank you, moderator. Uh, Now I will text about the need for pedagogy campus. Pedagogy campus will enrich they will normally be made of some or all of the text and transcript of recording for the course book that learning have read or listening to before and other supplementary material they are already familiar with. The important thing is that this corpus must provide some five illustration example of the language we want our students to learn. It is up purely and five quiz. This is campus is made of the how the things that is not this writing for language teaching purpose to illustrate a speak language point or simply to the point of distorting natural language using that is that such as there shall not be included in the pedagogic campus. There is lead point in learning student language that is inevitable or typical of the language they will meet in real life. If we can uh, exceed the of prodding and subtitle representative pedagogy campus, we can then design a serial of language analysis axis basic of the corpus. Analysis which have to potential to help students in the role of research to discover typical feature of the language for themselves. The purpose of this chapter is for us to explore how far this is feasible. Next slide. Okay. Prepare for dancing by hand. You are complete for the Bank of English, like research campus of over 300 million work of general, now special English. The most frequent five word, five for actually account for 13% of text suitable 303.3 in applied B. So this hack framework make useful starting point for the entire student of the text. They are to work that it impossible. The conferencing by hand simple because they are so frequent and example of the are actually to be. Then third analysis of the assignment, confidence, lineage, senses of work, typical collective grammar pattern, grammatical and paralegal and so on can be exploited. It is, whatever work, remember that not all work will be equally frequent in all discover types. That is, not every text will have the same frequent pattern. For example, in speaking English, the word so will think mean thank and yes and no are far more frequent that in write English. See chapter for this book in roll chapter Rebecca Hange and Michael Bad writing. Similarly, sour and prase will be more common in point snails described that is plain described. For example, value language such as that in of thing and stood like that, like will speak or quite different sense and written depend in genre of the text and quite special of the topic. Work will also appear with high frequency and particular text that the world in the general campus frequent with, but frequently can be used like indicator for work looking out for, but still all be frequent leaks given breakout of the common hiding and use of each work in frequent order, such as that set used in drawing up and implementing the legal syllabus for not out offering maybe enough. I'm back to moderator.
Okay, thanks for Aminah. So the next material will present by Deden Hamzah.
Okay, thanks to the moderator. Assembling and investigating concordance sample class activities. In this section, I will describe 5 sessions where hand concordance was used. Each session was based on different type of text, involved a variety of analytic procedures, and illustrates the kinds of insight that can be gained from using the procedures. The procedures and steps taken will then be summarized. Okay. For the sample session 1, focus on as for ESP student, I was invited to University ESP department in a developing country to lead a workshop on the lexical syllabus and the design of language analysis activities. There was little access to computer, but working with the text the teacher had brought in, we successfully concordance by hand a number of common words. To see what insight could be gained by doing so, 4 teachers had brought in text on the topic of farm animal nutrition that they were currently using with students studying English for agriculture. After a quick initial glance through text, I selected the word as which ranked 6th in the general written fraction list. For a summary of activities used, assembling. Learning identity lines containing the keyword and write them up on the board, a wall poster, or on the OHB transparency with the keyword in a central position to save time. This can be prepared for homework. Analyzing. Learns identify the boundaries of the pairs containing the keyword. Learns classify the use pattern or grammatical class they ever to fit. Learners think to know example parallel to those they have found and classified, extension and consolidation. Learners use dictionaries to consolidate specific areas or use of the keyword, concentrating on the uses occurring in the test line and search findings. Learners make a record of useful pairs and examples in their own notebooks. Learners look at the other features that happen to occur in the concordance line, look for more examples in the original text, and record examples of any useful items. For example, session 2, common word in spontaneous spoken narrative, the activities in this session were based on hand-generated concordance assembled in advance by a class of 20 intermediate students who were completing a unit on an incident in Africa Game Park. Word learning. 1. Become aware of the potential difference meaning and use of common words. Identify useful pairs and typical collisions they may use themselves. Gain insight into the structure and nature of both written and spoken discourse. For example, 3. Real beginners, or a focus on that. Beginners will inevitably have a much more limited experience of English. The pedagogic corpus of text and transcript will initially be much smaller, and the text and recording shorter and briefer, but as will still contain a high proportion of common words. For session 4, remedial beginners, a focus on the preposition. In this class of pre-remedial beginner had completed several tasks about where they live, and had read 3 short illustrated extracts from a Guinness Book of Record about the largest and the most expensive house in the world. After reading text, learned where to read text again, right press with the word in. Note that 3 classification activity, place, time, and hour will work with any preposition. The example found in text being examined include built more house in Asheville, USA, built in um, 1890, the most expensive house in the world. For example, section 5, revision activities based on course material for intermediate learners. Here are 2 ways of using text learners have already considered and encouraging learners to review and read them. Select the same number of common words as you have students in the class. Divide them up among the class, giving 1 word to each student or 2 words to each pair of students. Ask students to assemble on an OHB transcript if possible. Concordance line for 3 words from the text and transcript used so far that term. Cover up the line with the sheet of paper and then read them one by one. How many lines do you have to read before you sure that missing word is? This work well, the lines are ordered so as to make this difficult possible. It makes learners think hard about what is typical and what is less common. Here, find a grateful number of used large word 10 in the activity described section 1, perhaps because tests are taken from a wider variety of text. Okay, that's all for me. I'm bring back to the moderator.
Okay, thank you for Deden Hamzah. So the next material will present by me. So the material is summary of types of concordance-based session. So this activity is divided into 4 sessions, including the first is concordance lines are arranged within the session itself, and analysis activities are carried out by students with relatively little teacher guidance. So the second student range concordance line is advanced. Give the teacher time to investigate the concordance they have made. And these activities for each word based on the specific category of word usage. In the third, beginner register phrase with its assignment. Practice pronouncing this phrase and try to ways of classifying them. So in the fourth, refinement, beginners identify and classify phrases using generalizable categories for all preposition, time, place, order. They work first from the next understudy at the time, and then return to consider previous examples from the textbooks. In other words, they make full use of the example that have occurred in their pedagogic corpus. And the next material is enhancing the process. If we can gain access to computer and corpus software, so we can see is an Hodge, AWLH layer, web concordance, wordsmith tool. We can include our own corporate pedagogic learner could be asked to help with this. Look for a conformity program that identifies frequent phrases. Concordance can generate a list of word frequencies for each text or group of texts so that we can use it along with a concordance facility to help us select words or phrases from the next for student on to focus on. Alternatively, we can print out a concordance for the class to analyze and classify. So that's all for me. The next material will first.
Okay, thank you for moderator. I will explain about from pedagogic corpus to a balanced syllabus. It is very important to incorporate incorporate pedagogic corpus into a balanced syllabus where this can help our student understand what we are saying because the material we we convey is similar and is usually like to real life so that it is easier for students to understand. To balance the pedagogic corpus in the syllabus, we must consider what word, meaning, and pattern we will use to make it similar. In addition, considering the frequency and knowing student interest must also be considered by every teacher. This is a challenge for teacher where the teacher must combine the core material to make it similar. To make the material simple, the teacher must look for sharing reference that are in accordance with the material to be done. This is so that the material we will present is simple, but the essence of each material is conveyed and can be understood by student. And the conclusion for this chapter show that even without access to an appropriate research corpus or computer of any kind using hand generate consider this to focus on common word can provide a wealth of effective learning opportunities for our learner. The benefit of focusing on a her 50 or so very common word may at first sight have seemed somewhat limit in scope. However, because this word occurs so frequently in all kind of tech and have so many different use, the provide the common for a huge number of fixed and same fixed expression and grammatical pattern. Using this common word as Spites learner are likely to cut a wide variety of other useful words. Fresh and fatten and will inevitably giant insight into new aspect of the target language as evaluated by the pedagogy corpus. The analysis activity encourage a learner to process text more closely, to systematize their knowledge, and to look out for similar example in their own reading outside class. Once one attention has been drawn to the means, use, and function of common word in the target language, learners are more likely to notice and reflect on further occurrence of the language item that have been made silent study of the concordance. The process le- should lead to the development of the learner interlanguage analyze activities and awareness arising for this procedure can also encourage learner independent and efficient dictionary use, especially with regard to the common word that students often think they know already and do not bother to look up. They help learners to recognize the part play by collection and lexical phrase and to realize there is more to language than just vocabulary and grammar. Working directly from the data, searching for pattern investigating and describing what is actually there is a secure and reality unhurting activity. It is deal for mixed level class science. Being a learner center activity is allow students to work at their own level, our own level in their own the end in their own way. It also provides solid benefit for teacher. I have constantly found that language analysis activity inform the enrich my own view of the language. Not only learner but also teacher are likely to giant from investigate approach to language. Maybe enough from me. I'm bring back to moderator.
Okay, thanks for yoga. So that's enough for our group. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.